Today's masterclass, we are now continuing with the chakras, and we are now on the fifth chakra, which is located in the throat and actually the mouth as well. So it's this whole area right here. And the Vishuddha chakra is what it's called in Sanskrit. And the meaning of this chakra is, it means pure, pure, and not just pure, but actually very pure. And the reason why is because when this chakra is in balance, what you're truly experiencing is divine will. So that's what it can manifest as. But we'll just kind of break it down really quick and go through all the different aspects of this chakra. First of all, it's located in the throat and the mouth, and the related tissues are the thyroid gland, the vocal cords, and the bronchi, so the upper respiratory. It also contains the elemental qualities of ether. And remember what ether does. Ether is space, so it expands. It's going to always expand. And the subtle force that is related to this center, so remember the subtle forces, the vayus, those subtle forces are the forces that we manipulate every time we do yoga. Every pose you do is influencing the subtle forces. Those subtle forces have a physiological effect on the body, and they influence the mind and our emotions. So that's why when we practice yoga, it really does help to have a good understanding of these forces, because when you practice yoga, you're influencing them. Are you influencing them in a way that brings you balance or not? And so to understand them is helpful, because then you start to really get a good idea of what's the right practice for me. What centers am I influencing? So just that's a little side note. So Udana is that subtle force, and Udana moves upward, right? Which makes sense, right? Because we take in air and then we express it. Your ability to express through the vocal cords, you have to have air to do that. The sense organ related to the center is the ear, and also your ability to hear. So that's all related. And if you're looking at ether, that's in alignment with ether, because the sense organ of ether is the ears and hearing. Physically, this center is affecting the cervical plexus, which is in the neck. So if you're looking at the spine, the cervical part of the spine is what it's influencing. And also, not just the thyroid gland itself, but the nerves of the thyroid and even vocal cords. So it's going to influence the upper respiratory system and the bronchi, which is located in the lungs. The physical function of this center is that of speech, verbal and artistic expression. Psychologically, it's responsible for self-expression. It's a person's ability to express their ego and the will of the ego. So forms, it also, you can kind of recognize what's going on for a person, because it will literally form how a person's speech pattern is. And believe it or not, we all have speech patterns. It is something, as an Ayurvedic practitioner, that I assess. When somebody speaks very quickly and they jump around from topic to topic, it means that their speech pattern is very vata. When somebody is very precise, clear, intense, and passionate in how they speak, then that means that they are expressing through pitta. So there's more fire in it. And when somebody is slower, more gentle, more kind of emotional, then that means they're expressing through kapha. Those are the three different doshas. And so when I'm working with somebody and I'm doing a consultation, I definitely pay attention to What is their speech pattern? How do they communicate? Because that's letting me know what elements are at play and what doshas are dominating this person. So it's something interesting to know. All the modes of expression, such as art, fashion, and any kind of expression, really, even like piercings and tattoos, these all come out of this center. It's all coming out of this center. When there is an imbalance in this center, it will manifest physically in the tissues of the nerves involving this area, okay? When Udana Vayu is vitiated, so when Udana, that's that energy that moves up, when Udana is pushed out of balance, what happens is it causes a dysfunction in the person's ability to express themselves. And a person with too much, an increase or a hyper function of the center, they will become over-expressive. Like they can't stop talking. They become loud. It just comes out very distorted. It can be really intense and critical and kind of almost mean, sharp. And so that's just showing you that there's an imbalance in this center. Too much energy running through, like I said, would be what we call a hyper expression. So Tejas is a term that we use in Ayurveda and sometimes in yoga. Tejas is fire. It's the idea of light and heat and transformation. And when there is when there's high Tejas, too much heat, too much intensity, that will show up as sharpness and critical. So that's when it comes out like that, in intensity. When fire or Tejas is low, so you have low expression, then that person will respond and express themselves in a very dull and lackluster way. Like they lack passion. It's very kind of like monotoned. If you ever been to a class with a professor or a teacher that is monotoned, what happens to us? We fall asleep. We just can't stay engaged. It's because it's the passion that a person has. It's how they express themselves. A lot of times our favorite teachers, our favorite professors are those ones who were able to really express themselves well. They had an excitement about their topic. And that's because, they had passion for it. Hypersensitivity in this center will show up in your hearing as well. So you will become oversensitive to hearing, so you can't handle a lot of sounds. And that means that there's an increase. That means too much ether. There is an increase in this center. When there is a decreased flow, then that's when it starts influencing hearing and having hearing difficulties, inability to hear. And also that means not just hearing physically, but not able to hear our own will. And the will within us, this center is the center of the will. The solar plexus is the center of the will. Our ability to express ourselves and the ego, which is right here, comes out of this center. So you can have a really strong will, but if you can't express it, then that's going to show up as an imbalance. So when we have hearing, we want to be able to not just hear physically, but hear what is the will? What is our will? And hearing the soul. What is our deepest desires? Our heart. What's connected to our heart? And when we lack that, we become expressionless. It's really interesting because we do see people like that. When this center becomes healthy, and prana, which is our vital force, prana is able to move through this center in a healthy way, in a balanced way, and that will heighten our ability to hear and also express ourselves And that then expression is what we call being expression of divine will, or also the will of God, if you want to use that word. Prana flowing through the center properly is always going to connect us to that deeper divine aspect of ourself. And that means that we have clear discrimination between what is truth and illusion. And by the way, that's different for all of us. It's like knowing what right action is and not right action. And that is individual. It's personal. Expression, when it is in balance, it's going to show up as inspiration. It's going to show up clear, and it's going to show up loving. It's a beautiful center because it's a very creative center. It's our ability to be artistic. It comes out of here. Spiritually speaking, when prana is flowing through the center properly, that is what happens. You align with that divine part of yourself, and you are able to express it. The mantra related to this center is HAM, H-A-M, but it's pronounced hum, hum. And when you chant it, it will increase the ether element in the body and the mind. Very beneficial for those who have a lot of kapha and pitta, or even a kapha imbalance or a pitta imbalance. It is not recommended for people who are high vata, or if you have a vata imbalance, and also low ojas. What is ojas? Ojas is our vital reserves. And I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but there's a whole list of priorities as far as when nutrients are received in the body from the food that we actually eat. All the tissues will receive those nutrients, but there is a priority. The first tissues are going to be the plasma, the brain, then the blood, the muscles, and it goes in an order of importance. Vital organs first, right? And then the nervous system and the bones and blah, blah, blah. The very bottom, you guys, is the reproductive system. And this is why in India, they always do a cleanse and remove toxins, and they prepare the body for pregnancy a year before they want to conceive, because it's so important to have tissues in the best possible condition. But below reproductive is your vital reserves. That's your ojas. When you have low ojas, it means that all this is depleted and now you have nothing left. You have nothing left. You're empty. Your tank is empty. So this is not a mantra that you do when you have low ojas, you are dealing with a depleting condition, or you're sick, or you have a vata imbalance. If you're wanting more information on this, you could definitely reach out to me and contact me and get a consultation. It's totally worth it. But it's just a little side note that you definitely do not want to use this mantra if you have low ojas or you are vata vitiated. Okay, so that's it for our talk, and we're going to go ahead and move on to our practice now.